Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and get started with working our Tunisian crochet dishcloth. I am so excited to share this pattern with you guys. It has been in the works for quite a while, and I just hope that it is a really great way for you to be able to practice Tunisian crochet, whether you are a beginner or an advanced Tunisian crocheter. I hope that you really enjoy this pattern. So I'm going to be using this really pretty light blue color today. I've used WeCrochet Dishie for all of these samples, and I will link this yarn and all of the materials that I'm going to be using in the description box below, as well as the yarn requirements and things like that for you to reference as needed. The pattern will also be linked down there, so definitely take advantage of that, and maybe even have it kind of on the side, print it out, or on another tab on your computer, whichever works for you, so that you can kind of follow along with the tutorial. I'm going to do my best to tell you all the information you need to know within this video so that you don't have to have that pattern. But, you know, there is a free version, there's a paid PDF version. There's definitely benefits to using both printed versions of a pattern and, you know, a video tutorial. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to slide these out of the way because we don't need them right now. I'm using a 6mm Tunisian crochet hook today. Now, a little bit of information about this hook. This is an interchangeable Tunisian crochet hook. These are my favorite that I have tried so far. This is the Radiant interchangeable, you know, one of them from the set from WeCrochet. Again, I'll link them down below. So because they're interchangeable, I do have a cord attached. I'm not going to be using the entire length of this cord because we're only going to be having about 30 stitches on the cable. Typically, you would also put an end cap on the other end of this. I'm not going to be doing that because, like I said, I'm not going to need all of this space for my stitches, and I also don't want it to be really loud on the table. And I think if I had that end cap, it would be much louder or much more likely to be loud, and we don't want that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our dishcloth today. We're going to make a slip knot. So simply take the working yarn, loop it over the tail, and then reach through that loop and grab that working yarn, and then pull the tail to pull it nice and tight. Place that on your hook, and we're going to get started with our foundation chain. So you can make this dishcloth as narrow or as wide as you want. I have specific measurements and stitch counts listed in the pattern, and I'm going to be using those in this tutorial. But you can totally make this, you know, wider or narrower, whichever works best for you. But today I'm going to be chaining 30 stitches. So simply a yarn over, pull that loop through the hook, and we're going to do that for a total of 30 times. You want to try to keep this chain a little bit loose so that it's easy to work into. We're actually going to be working into the back spine stitches of this chain, and so you do want to just kind of keep that in mind. But that said, Tunisian crochet has a tendency to tighten up a little bit, and so if you make your chain too tight, it'll flare out, and we don't want that either. So just try to keep a nice even gauge. You could even try to go down a hook size if you struggle a little bit with that. Okay, so let's count because I've been talking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and then let's do 3 more, 28, 29, and 30. And again, apologies for, you know, any cable clanking you might hear on the table. I'm actually going to tie this, and maybe that'll help a little bit as well. Because again, I'm not going to be needing, well, it's also not going to stay. We'll just have to go with it. I guess, oh, there we go. That might help. Okay, so now that I have my chain of 30 chains, I'm going to start with row 1. And this is going to be our foundation row, so we're just going to kind of be setting everything up. I'm going to start by flipping my chain over, just like this. And now we have all of those spine stitches showing instead of the V stitches. And we're going to be working into these stitches to give us a nice clean edge for that bottom kind of hem section. So I'm going to skip the first stitch, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the second stitch, into that spine, just that one strand of yarn right there, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then stop. That's it. So we're going to be working our forward pass for Tunisian crochet. We're not going to be pulling through any loops like we would for a typical crochet row. We're just going to be kind of picking up each and every loop, and then we'll return the pass in a minute. So insert your hook into the next spine stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then we're just going to repeat that all the way down our work here. Tunisian crochet is seriously so satisfying and so therapeutic. I just love the rhythm of it so very much. Okay, so I'm just going to continue inserting my hook into each of these spine stitches and pulling up a loop. I'm going to do this all the way down until I get back to that slip knot, and then I will meet you there to work our return pass, which will be the second half of row 1. Okay, so I have all of my spine stitches picked up. We can see a really nice V-stitches showing from the foundation chain here on the underside of our work, which is exactly what we want. And now we are going to work the second half of row 1, which is going to be our return pass. So every Tunisian crochet row will have a forward pass and a return pass. The forward pass is what we just worked. It's going to be picking up all of those loops, and then the return pass is going to be pulling through all of those loops and preparing for the next return pass. So for this section, we are going to chain 1, so simply yarn over and pull through 1 loop. This just gets us to the right height, and then we are going to work our return pass by yarning over and pulling through 2 stitches, and then stopping and doing that again. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, so on and so forth. We're going to do this all the way down until we have just 1 loop remaining. So again, we're just yarning over and pulling through 2 loops at a time. This is my absolute favorite part of Tunisian crochet. Like I said, I just love the rhythm of this. And you can definitely pick up some speed too as you get going and as you get that practice in. It's such a fun art. Okay, so I'm almost to the end of my row here. There we go. I have that 1 loop remaining on my hook, and that's exactly what it was. So this is the end of row 1. We have worked that very first forward and return pass, and we are now all set up to work the rest of our dishcloth, which is just going to be repeating the same row over and over. So we're going to start with our Tunisian simple stitch now. For row 2, we are going to insert our hook into this first vertical bar. So we're just kind of going through it here, straight through, horizontally, not through the fabric at all. That would be a different stitch. We're just going straight through that 1 strand of yarn and then pulling up a loop. So again, we're just going to go straight through that vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. Straight through, yarn over, pull up a loop. And we're going to repeat that all the way down until we have 1 stitch remaining. And we're going to do something a little bit different on that very last stitch to give us a neater edge. And I will show you how to do that here in just a second. Again, we are just inserting a hook into each vertical bar and pulling up 1 loop. And we're working that all the way down. Okay, so I have worked all the way down my dishcloth. I have 1 stitch remaining, which can be easy to miss, so just be sure to pay attention so that you catch this last stitch. Instead of working through just 1 strand, just 1 vertical bar, we're going to turn our dishcloth ever so slightly to the side and pick up both of these strands right here. This will be easier to see as we continue the dishcloth. This first row can be a little bit tricky, but just try to insert your hook under 2 strands of yarn and pull up a loop. And that's just going to make our sides identical. It's going to give us nice V's all the way up. If we pull up the stitch cloth that I've made in the past, you can kind of see on the edge here how it's very neat and straight, and that's exactly what we want. And so doing that little trick at the end of the row is going to help us achieve that. Alrighty, and then just like before, we're going to work our return pass for row 2. We're going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops all the way down. And that's all there is to it. So I'm going to show you this row one more time, and then I will leave you to it. Okay, I just finished row 2. So like I said, I'm just going to show you this row one more time, and then we're just going to repeat it until our dishcloth is a square, or as long as you want it to be. So again, we're going to insert our hook into this first vertical bar, yarn over, pull through a loop, or pull up a loop, excuse me, and we're just going to repeat that all the way down. So insert into that vertical bar horizontally, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert, yarn over, and pull through, and we're going to repeat that all the way down. And then again, just like before, once we get to that very last stitch, we're going to go through both strands of yarn to give us a nice clean edge. And like I said before, it's going to be easier to see that stitch as the dishcloth or the piece of whatever you're working on gets bigger. It's just going to be a little bit more evident. And so you will go ahead and notice that at the end of this row even. So I'm just going to keep working until I get to that very last stitch. Okay, and here's that last stitch. Like I said, you can see it a little bit better. You can see like our space in between here and then this very last stitch. Again, instead of working into this vertical bar, we're going to turn our dishcloth ever so slightly and catch both of those strands of yarn right on the very edge there. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Just like that. And now we're going to work our return pass. So again, we're just going to yarn over and pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way down our dishcloth. And that is all there is to it. So I am going to continue repeating row 2 until I have a total of 25 rows, or until the dishcloth is a square. I personally prefer square dishcloths, but you can make one into a rectangle. You can turn it into like a hand towel or something as well. Whatever you'd like it to be is totally okay. So just work until you have made it as long as you want it to be, and then I will meet you back here to show you how to bind off. Alrighty, so I have now finished my 25 rows for this dishcloth, and again, you can make this to be any length that you want, but this is how I like mine to be, and this is how it's written in the pattern. And now I am ready to bind off. So I just finished my last return pass. I have my 1 loop on the hook, and let's do it. So this is super, super simple. We are going to insert our hook into the first vertical bar like we've been doing, and then we're basically just going to work a slip stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and then pull this second loop through the first, just like so. And we're going to repeat that all the way across. Try to keep it a little bit loose so that we don't have any gauge issues up at the top here, but we're just going to repeat the same step. So insert your hook into the next vertical bar, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then pull through the other loop on the hook to result in a slip stitch. And we're just going to work that all the way across until we get down to the opposite corner. And then once we get there, we will work through those 2 loops at the very end of the row like we've been doing for the entirety of the dishcloth, just to make that finish nice and secure. So I'm going to work all the way across, put music over this so that you don't hear this awful banging, and then I will meet you back here to finish off and weave in our ends. Alrighty, so I'm to my corner. I'm just going to insert my hook into these 2 strands right on the side here and pull up a loop, and then pull through to result in a slip stitch. And there we go. So now I am finished binding off. I'm just going to trim this tail, just like so. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through just to finish off that last loop. Set my hook aside. And now to weave in our ends, I like to turn the dishcloth over to the wrong side of our work and thread your tail through a yarn needle or tapestry needle, and I like to just go through a few of the bumps here on the back side, just kind of like weave in and out of a few of them. I like to go down and then come back up. You know, whatever works best for you is totally okay. You just want it to be as secure as possible, because this is a project that's going to be getting a lot of heavy use, of course, and we don't want these ends to come undone. Alright, and then I will do the same thing over on this bottom side from our foundation chain. And it is typically not necessary to block dishcloths. If you would like to, you can easily, wet it a little bit and then pin it out, and that'll make it lay a little bit flatter. But I really just let them do whatever, because they're just going to be used and washed. So it's not, it's really not a big deal in my opinion. Okay, so there are both of my ends woven in. And now I'm just going to trim both of them close to the fabric, just like that, and there we go. There is our finished dishcloth. I hope you found this tutorial fun and encouraging to follow along with it, and that you learned something new through it. Like I mentioned throughout the video, be sure to check out all of the links in the description box below. You can find the pattern that I used in this tutorial, as well as all of the materials and details about them, and then of course my social media platforms and pattern shops as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy making. Bye!